So we are recording, but Justin has decided to rewire the studio, and he's doing that right now.
We have not done this in 6 months. I don't know.
It has been a while.
Took a little bit.
Actually,
not a weekly podcast.
Not anymore.
No, you have brought us out of retirement. Thank you, Melissa, because we have had quite a bit of time off. In fact, there's one point where I didn't recognize you anymore, Justin. And I said to you, "You're Justin, right?" And you said, "Yes. Remember, we have this podcast." And I go, "Oh, right." And he said, "We haven't had anybody on the show for a while."
It really reveals the level of friendship we have, which is dependent only on meeting in this room and talking on camera, because I don't know what's going on in your life because we don't catch up outside of this room.
No, I'm not walking up and telling you anything specific.
I really don't know what's going on with you or with anything in your life.
Well, there's a lot going on, but the most exciting thing is, I don't remember, are we going to catch up here or
we can catch up?
We can catch up here. We have a part of our podcast where we kind of catch up with each other, and that's usually after.
But Melissa's here.
So we can all catch up together and visit about our lives. Are you going to cut this out of the podcast?
I just want to tell you that this side of your hair is got a real, you just need to run your hands down
little
through
static.
It. Yeah. Yeah, and I think you just solved it.
Joke's on me. I thought that was body.
Yeah. Well,
I thought that was
it's only 7 strands. It's only 7 strands of hair. It's not body.
In order to be body, it's got to be over a certain number.
Maybe
short of the whole thing.
Maybe one more.
Maybe one more.
Like, yeah. It's all those balloons you've been blowing up for VBS.
It's true. It's true.
Electricity.
But we had to come out of retirement because we have a fabulous guest, and I'm so excited.
We do need to get started.
All right. Well,
that's what we do.
We do that right now.
We say we're going to get started.
Here we go.
Hello, and welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast from the CityRise Network. Hosted by Jennifer Dennis and produced by me, Justin Kello. We're a podcast that was supposed to be focused on parenting, but we've kind of lost the plot along the way. Honestly, we don't know what this podcast is about, but we talk to incredible people who love Jesus, and our hope is to provide encouragement and fun whenever possible. If our lack of clear direction bothers you, we apologize, but no one is making you listen to this podcast, unless you're married to Jennifer. Andy, thanks for listening.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast. We are out of retirement for one special show.
That is not true. We do want to keep doing this, but Melissa was someone I've been begging you to bring back, and you finally got in touch with her. So
it's true. Well, we had to wait till the restraining order wore off. But once that passed, I was able to get into contact with her, and she was able to come. So welcome, please, one of our favorite guests ever, Melissa Patin.
Thank you.
Hooray!
Yay! Nice to be here.
How do you know Melissa?
As you all know from a previous show,
I don't know if everyone knows
Melissa
that,
is one of my dear, dear friends, but we started our relationship, and she was my principal and I was a teacher at Mark Twain Elementary. And that's where I grew to love and respect her. And then she didn't give me her number when she retired. I had to find that, but she finally got on social media. I hunted her down. And now she's been forced to be my friend.
Now she's just a friend, not an authority figure, not someone who
not an authority figure.
Not someone who signs your checks.
I do regularly get advice from her. She's very wise, but no, she's not in an official role of authority.
That's great.
No. So welcome, Melissa.
Thank you.
The last time we visited with you, we were trying to hang around a grocery store and get on a show.
Oh, goodness. Yes.
Yes, that was our last time together.
I don't think we were successful.
We didn't get on the show, but I did see behind the scenes.
No, Melissa, we were not successful because of Justin. He wouldn't sign the waiver of not sharing his camera, and we got escorted away from the place.
That's right.
They didn't bring a waiver. They said, you got to delete what's on your phone. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I'm not going to
He was arguing with them, and they're like, you can get out. And he's like, and that lady over there messing with the melons, she needs to leave too.
I forgot about that. The walk of shame out of the store there. Yes.
No.
And you were the one that gave us the hint. Like you were the one that let us know what was happening.
So if you don't know, Top Chef filmed a season. It's a TV show. It filmed a competitive season in Houston. And they shop each week at a Whole Foods. And Melissa found out that they shop at her store. And Melissa does not care about this show. I don't even know how it came up in your conversation.
I have no idea. I didn't remember it being me that
you were the link. You were the link.
Well, you have buddies because this is her regular store. So Melissa actually knows the butcher.
Yeah.
And she knows the cheese people.
The fish guy.
The fish guy.
Yeah. Jimmy the fish guy. I think he might have told me.
You know what I want to say about that? When you know someone who has a fish guy.
Yeah.
you know they're eating delicious food.
I walk by the deli and I don't even look at those people. I don't know what to order from them. I don't know how to order it from them. I don't even know what I would say to them.
No.
If it is not prepackaged on a shelf, I don't even know what to ask for.
That sounds like maybe one of the most unhealthy things you've ever said.
But I'm talking about the prepackaged ground beef or pork chop. Like I don't know how to say like, oh, I want a pound of this cut of meat.
I'm going to date Melissa and I for just a minute. But remember,
that's all you could do.
Remember Brady Bunch when Alice had the meat guy? It was Sam. Sam, and he was the meat guy, and they started dating, and I love that. Like he would always give her the finest cuts, and I wanted to ask do you have a meat guy there too? Obviously, just a friend relationship.
No, I don't know any of the folks behind the meat counter. And my favorite fish guy is gone.
Oh, no.
We probably got fired.
Sadly. Well, I mean, I don't know, but he was a really nice guy.
Oh, that stinks.
No, I don't really know anyone at the
Do you
meat
eat
counter.
more fish than meat? Is that what the situation is?
I eat the only meal I used to cook every night, every single night. And so since Jimmy, my husband, passed, I'm able to do one meal a week, and it is a piece of salmon. And that is my meal, a piece of salmon and perhaps some greens on the same pan. And so the little guy at the fish counter, when I walk up, he says, I gotcha.
I love that.
He says, yeah. And he gives me a piece of fish and it's a connection for the day. And
so even the new guy knows you now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
See, I love that. My McDonald's lady, when I went by yesterday afternoon, she was still on her shift from when I'd been there in the morning. And I was like, you got a long day. And she's like, you're back again. She goes, I don't know who this is a bigger deal for. I love those moments in your day when you run into people in your community that are familiar with you. They make, I think, life a lot more textured.
It's hard to come by in Houston. It doesn't happen quite as
You
often.
have to work on it. But do you know that research says that longevity of life is A, connected to the people that you're close to in your life, but B, the people that you kind of just a little bit know in your community.
I agree. I've got some folks I met in this new town. I'm going to hang out for a while.
That's right.
In the summer. And I did it because I felt like I needed to do this at this point in my life. And so all of my new best friends are Sergio, the handyman, who checks in with me weekly. He's on my Ring camera literally every day, watering by hand my flowers. The painter, the guy that did all of these people that don't know me, but we've created this wonderful connection. And I don't know how I've impacted their lives, probably maybe not in a positive way. But for me, it's just been such a comfort and, kind of helps you to just get going and to feel good about whatever it is that's related to them. Like, oh, I've got flowers planted. Sergio, yes, that kind of thing. So yeah, connections.
I think it's so good.
Do you have a Sergio in your life?
Andy has to plant everything.
Andy is like Sergio plus.
Andy is like, don't you dare get someone to work on this. We, speaking of what's happening with us, like Andy is kind of going through that now in that his dad's moving out into a more full care situation. And we were talking today and he's like, I've got to replace the floor of this bathroom. I need to get a guy and I've got to fix the yard and I need a person. And it's true. You work together to find a team. But I wanted to get back to the last time that Melissa was on the show with us. It was before her husband, Jimmy, passed. And wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guy. Just the kindest, wisest, like neatest guy. And so easy to talk to. And so you have been on a journey of grief and healing from that. And I just wanted to ask you, like, what have been some of the things that you've learned about grief?
That it is like a marathon and a lot of ups and downs. I remember the first year after Jimmy passed, everyone was like, oh, she's doing great. She's doing great. And I look back on that and I think, wow, I am quite the actor, because I really wasn't, but I was so into needing to, Jimmy said, you have to learn how to live without me. And I was like, I'm going to do that. And it's just it's hard. it's hard. I've got a lot of new friends and who I've met because they're also widows. But the widow walk is a lonely walk. So how am I doing? I'm doing okay. You know,
you were part of it, and we have the same group, the grieving group here. What is the name of that?
Grief Share.
Grief Share, and we have that here on campus. But I mean, you really formed a connected community through that.
Yes, that was probably for anyone that might be watching this that has lost someone, a spouse, a child, a parent, a good friend. It's really, really important that you connect with others. And it's hard though, because you go to a grief group and, you know, you have 20 people and they all have a different type of loss that they're grieving. And so for me, and Jennifer, you know me well enough, I'm sitting there thinking, you know, my arms crossed, clearly not looking pleased, thinking these people don't know how I'm feeling. And the guy that led it said, you know, the one thing I encourage you to do is to lean into your grief and give this a second chance. If you're thinking, I'm never coming back here, this is terrible, I encourage you to try again. And then if you don't like it, you don't go. But that group and being a part of that really helped, because you do feel you're alone and you're lonely. And I still am very friendly with a number of the people from that grief group. And I'm the young one in the group. So
you're the cool one.
So yeah, I'm the young, cool one, supposedly energetic, not so much, but yeah. So it was very important to the healing that I've done.
The group thing is really important. I recently had the opportunity to go with someone really close to me to an AA meeting that they were a part of, and they had just joined maybe 3 months ago, and they
really
invited me to go with
Kristen
them.
under the bus here. Justin on the show.
Not Kristen. And there's no shame in going to get help. So even if it was, I wouldn't be ashamed of it. But it was someone close to me, and I don't have permission to share their story, but I got to go sit with them. And the power of that community was really, really insane, because everyone walks in, like you said, y'all had different griefs, but still an undercurrent of the same situation.
Right.
You're all dealing with something. AA was even more so specific, like just alcohol abuse. And the freedom they had to speak about what they're going through, because everyone was kind of on a similar page.
Right.
Whereas if they just went to a church group where everyone had different struggles or different problems, you're a little bit more reserved about being open and honest about that. So there's something really powerful, I think, about finding that group that's in a similar boat. Once again, no one is walking the exact same road you're walking, but to find a group of people that's in a similar situation with whatever your struggle or problem is, it was really eye-opening to me about how powerful that can be. I've never had a situation where I've needed that, but I know if one day that comes up, that I've got something that's a deep struggle, I'm going to look for a community that's focused on that struggle, because there's something really kind of magical that God can do through that.
I really think that I love that you did that, Justin.
Yeah, it was really. I could talk about that meeting. It blew my mind. Like it was almost like. I wish church was like that in some ways, like the way they
just the brutal
the community
honesty.
And then like the way they work together, and there was no leader, and it's like, okay, who has the keys to open up tomorrow? Okay. Like it was a very like community type, we exist by the power of us working together group, which was really cool.
That is really cool.
Those groups are very accepting. And so whatever you're bringing in, it's okay.
Yeah.
And I think that there's real magic with that, because it's hard to really transparently expose your grief, or in this case, your struggles. And when you're around people that just say, you know, it's okay, no judgment, it's part of the healing. And those are hard meetings. I've actually gone to one when I was getting my counseling degree. And it was hard. It just your heart hurts. Connections.
I think that's so
counseling.
good.
So you've got a background in counseling.
Melissa is wildly talented and gifted. She even cooks.
Wow.
Like, yes.
Even cooks. How does that play into your process when, if you were counseling and encouraging someone else, you would know exactly what to say, do, and coach them in? Did you find yourself ignoring all of your own advice, or did you find yourself going back to things that you learned as a counselor?
You know, probably. And I wasn't the greatest counselor despite what Jennifer says. Thank you for your support. You know, learning how to listen without judgment, again, is, I think, is so important. But you have to listen to yourself and also not judge, because you're not going to do everything right. And I think that people that are going through something difficult, loss, whatever, that there's this grace period, because you say and do things that, by the grace of God, people forgive and they hold your hand and they let you continue. And I think that by listening is probably the greatest thing we can do for each other, because it's really not about giving advice. It's about helping each other to sort of pull back the layers and self-discovery. I did try therapy for 3 times. Someone said, you need therapy, which, nobody wants to be told that you need therapy. But I listened because I was having a difficult time in my journey. And she was lovely, but I just thought, I don't need this right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to peel my own layers back and figure it out. And plus, the other thing too is, whether you join a group or not, but being surrounded by friends, some friends, and forgiveness, grief, loss makes people uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. It just does. And so what you find is that all of a sudden people start to fade away, because it takes a lot of work and Jennifer can attest to this. She has remained a steady friend and support through my last 2.5 years. And you know what she did?
Oh no.
Okay,
It could be almost anything.
Well, okay, this is because she's not going to. The thing about a good friend is they don't give up on you,
right?
And they don't take no for an answer,
right?
So shortly after Jimmy passed, Jennifer calls me up and she says, "I think we should go to this pickleball clinic." I remember thinking, now why would I do that? But we did. We went. She kind of forced it. She literally would not take no. So I'm at a pickleball thing, and I could consider myself to be somewhat, I'm not going to say athletic, but I exercise.
You don't embarrass yourself.
And I'm competitive.
Yeah.
At that pickleball clinic, she put me to shame. I would be standing there just completely in a daze, just not even knowing where I am, and the ball would come at me, and
Jennifer's like, Melissa, get it together.
Pretty much.
No, I did not. It shouldn't have been called beginning pickleball. It should have been called retired professional tennis people trying something new. Pick up a new sport. These people were so good. And we're just sitting there like, did they not see the beginning part? And by the halfway through the first lesson, the coach is like, I've got some coaching on the side if you guys are interested. I'll come to your house. I'm like, well, we don't have a pickleball court at my house. He's like, you can come to my house. And they are looking at us like, oh no.
They're really going to drag down the group.
It's like, she's on my court.
We were the weak links of the whole clinic.
Of the entire clinic.
It was not good.
And the funny thing was, Melissa, what I learned about Melissa is that if she's going to try something completely new, she does not like to not know what she's doing. That's not a fun thing for her.
Yes.
For me, I feel like that's kind of every day for me. And it's a very natural state to be in. Right. But for her, it was like, oh, no. We're not probably going to make a joke about this. I think we're going to try this again, or we're going to leave the court and we're going to our car. Right. Like, we're not. But we are going to do another. We're going to try this again. Something because racket sports apparently help you live to be 100. It's specifically racket sports like tennis, pickleball, where you're.
The hand-eye coordination.
I find that hard to believe.
They say that is the longevity sport. Wow. I mean, I've seen 3 TikTok videos on that.
Must be true.
Because TikTok.
But talking about not giving up, I appreciate you bringing that up, because grief, for those of us who have not faced it, you really do feel like you should be solving something and you don't know how to, and you got to get out of that mindset. Like, they're not asking you to solve anything. Right. There's nothing to solve. You can't fix this problem. Like, it's not like you can make it better. But not giving up is huge. I was really convicted about that recently. I had a friend, he's from my old youth group, and we're not like talking all the time, but he's a friend, and his son passed away, 5 years old, tragically, out of nowhere. And I just was like, what am I going to do? And And as I was researching grief and what you can do, and it's like, everyone talks about that people fading away. It's like, oh, the first month, everyone's so invested. How are you? Are you good? Are you okay? Blah, 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 blah. And so I was like, well, how can I not do that? How can I not be that person? And so I set an alert on my phone for once a month from the day of the funeral. I was like, all right, well, the 21st of every month, I'm going to just call this guy. And if he picks up, great. If he doesn't pick up, it's not whatever. And I'm not saying that I'm saving his life, but I felt like I was doing something. Like I cared enough about him that I want to reach out to him, but I didn't know what to do. And to me, it was like, well, just calling him once a month, to me, keeps him at the front of my mind, front of my heart, and then lets him know. And he may not need it. He may just ignore my calls.
Oh, he needs it.
Well, yeah. But when God told me to do that, I just wanted to reiterate, like, if you feel like I don't know what to do with grief, like something as simple as setting an alert on your phone to reach out on a regular basis for infinite time, so that as people fade away, you're still there, I think is an easy thing to do.
You know what I learned? Melissa taught me this. What I learned is don't make promises to people who are in grief. Don't promise them that it'll be better in a year. Don't promise them that they'll find someone new or will want someone new. Don't promise them things because you don't know. And you don't know what their grief is like. And I think we talked, and what grief is something that exists upon you that is not almost part of what you can control. It's almost like another, I don't know how to explain it, Melissa, maybe you can better, but I think Melissa realized that grief is not something you can manage or control.
No. I mean, it's something we all know is going to hit us and hit us hard at some point in our life. And you can know people but when it hits you on a very close personal level, you simply cannot be prepared for it. And, I am grateful that I had such a wonderful relationship, and I was so blessed to have Jimmy in my life. And he's left me with a lot of wisdom. But grief is just, you can't prepare for it, but you can't run away from it. You can't run away from it. There was a gal, a good friend of mine now, and we were at grief.
I love how Melissa says gal.
Gal, yeah.
Well,
I am from Nebraska.
That's so cute.
Gal. But I remember she said, just kind of randomly out of the blue in the middle of a session, she said, I hate to tell you, and her husband had died a few years ago. I hate to tell you all this, but it doesn't get any better. And I remember thinking at the time, I can't believe you said that. Geez, you need to leave, in my head. You're thinking, and I've come to know her quite well. And she was spot on. She was spot on. It sticks with you, but you do learn how to sort of forge ahead. And, but you have to stay connected. And what you were talking about a reminder, and I remember this when my husband was sick also, because a lot of people, when people are sick, they don't know what to say. They care, they want to be there, but nobody knows what to do. So everybody kind of just does, nothing. But reaching out in any way, a quick text, just checking in, a smiley face, anything to keep connected with folks that are going through something, it makes all the difference. It really, really does. I mean, there are days when you don't, well, I have to get up because of my dog Max, but you could literally just sit all day long, and then somebody will text, will call, there'll be a beep of some sort, or you walk your dog and a neighbor that you don't remember their name, but they remember you, just speaks to you. And they all know that I'm a widow. And so it's like the whole world in my neighborhood just came out of their doors at the same time, like some sort of movie. All these people came up right after, and hey, how you doing? Not questioning, not specifically asking me about stuff, but just sort of engaging. So engage away. Don't be afraid.
That's a
great word.
Engage away. I like that. It takes a little bit of bravery. It takes a little bit of courage to do that.
Would you say that you've faced grief of that magnitude yet?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, because your parents are both living. Okay.
My grandparents died in their 90s. But I've walked with several friends now who've hit devastating grief. Amy, my friend Amy, who lost her son, and then Jean, Pennington who lost her daughter.
Yeah.
And with Melissa and walking through, and you get to where you're not, because I think people are afraid of it. It feels, it's like, it's how the same people react when people have a special needs child. You're just like, how is this going to go? How should I? And I think there's fear, and it really takes courage to step into it. And you're like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I always say the wrong thing. And that's the enemy, like separating you from, if God's put someone in your path to love on and be connected with, then that's the enemy saying, oh, you're going to say the wrong thing. They don't need to hear from you. They'll be fine. And then you just back off, and that person doesn't have the encouragement or the hope. And many people are called to like step into people's lives, and they're like, that's messy.
Yeah.
That is messy.
Well, it's honestly, it's selfish. I'm afraid I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm afraid I'm not going to know how to help them. And trust me, I have said the wrong thing. I remember what Amy Pickett one day we'll have on the show. She's one of my dearest friends. And when her son passed away, and Jean Pennington and I were riding together to go with her. And it was the day that it happened. And on the way, Jean said, Jennifer, this is not the time to say stupid things. She said, you get next to her, you tell her I'm here, I am sorry. And really, that's all we're going to need out of you. And it was such a moment of, okay. And I felt like when we got there and she was in her bed, and I remember we laid right next to her. And I felt like I aged 30 years in 1 minute because you just don't feel like you're ready to walk with someone at that level. And I was like, it is just being here, a warm, I love you. Also, I think it's been great stepping through and listening to friends. They want you back. And that's another thing that we've all walked through, is that they want you back. They're waiting for you to return to who you normally always are. Right.
And it's like, okay, so we're ready for,
once again, still selfish. Still self-centered.
Yeah, where are the jazz hands?
Yeah.
We're ready for the party to start.
Right.
We've been doing this for a while now. We need you to check back in. And what people don't realize is there are levels of grief that you're changed forever.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
When that's interesting, you should bring that up, because probably one of the most difficult windows or periods during this process was with my family, who's been, just as Jennifer knows, awesome. They've been just amazing, especially the young folks.
These Nebraskans, they're good folks.
They're good folks. But they needed me. We had a lot of tears last summer, and they needed me to be okay. They told me this. We need you to be okay. We need you to be the Momo that you were before. And they needed me to fill the void left by Jimmy. And we cried, and I said, kids, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be that person again. I'm going to be the best version of Momo now, but I can't be that, because Jimmy was a part of me. And we cried. And the other thing was that certain people in your life, they take responsibility for you, for helping you to heal and helping you navigate life. And I had to release friends and my family. And I had to say, I release you from that responsibility. You have been there for me. You have held my hand. You have wiped my tears. But I release you. You have to let me now go and do this. I know you really. Yes.
I did not know that was a part of the process.
Well,
I never released me. I don't know.
Well, you're not. I'm still got some questions about you, Jennifer.
My release papers are still working through. No, there's another, Melissa has this incredible intimate layer of friends and family that are all amazing people. And so I think it's so intuitive that you did that. What an incredible step for them. And some of them, their identity is helping people.
Yes.
So you almost are like, okay, this has become maybe a little unhealthy.
Yeah.
But, with extroverts, with people who are, because Melissa's hysterical and she's center of attention and she's just this giant personality. And I would sit there and laugh at her. And there are not many women in real life every day that make me laugh hard. And Melissa's one of the few she's so funny to me. But when you're married to someone, that is not fun. They're not over. They are providing steady, constant love and affection and belonging to the person who's just making it happen. I don't know how to explain it any more than that. But people don't realize, I mean, Jimmy's kind, but he was never trying to steal the show. He's just this constant loving part of Melissa's life.
I call him the stabilizer.
Oh, okay.
I have my own stabilizer. And it's funny. It's funny what people don't realize. It's like, we need you back on the stage, but when you've lost your stabilizer, there's so much a part of what you're doing. And people don't realize, oh, yeah, okay, this is different. But I think grief is, man, it's hard. It's such a journey, but I love that you've done it with so much grace. And I've been just watching you. I love that. For me, it would be straight to the couch, and it would be 6 months of like delivery, food, and Bluebell. I would buy the 3 if they're on sale in the summer, 3 for $15 or whatever. I'd be digging my face into that, and then I would pick up every show, like on every platform.
You would dissociate.
I would completely dissociate.
Yeah.
I think I would, but to watch Melissa walk through it, and she says, and she would say things like, I want to remain healthy physically. And she would say, I still want to work out. I still want to eat really healthy because, Jimmy was very healthy and they had a routine. And she goes, I still want to remain healthy because of who we were together. And for me, and I'm not going to cry about this, but this is like, okay, I'm not going to cry, but this is one of the most meaningful things that you taught me in your grief. Is that when you lose someone, when you continue to live out the things that they valued, you are allowing them to live forever. And when you continue in that walk, then you are keeping their values alive for other people. And whether it's living healthy, living joyfully, living with wisdom, working with integrity, and all of those things were Jimmy. The fact that Melissa feels still accountable to who they were together and who he was, I think is such an incredible, testament to their love and the goodness of who they were. So
well, thank you for that. I think that you hear this, it's very cliched, but he really did help me to be the best version of myself, and to honor him and to honor me. I have to continue to lead a healthy spiritual, emotional, physical life. And, for all the ladies and men, everyone that's lost someone, you have to pull up your bootstraps. It's not easy, but you have to do it. And today I'm good today, Today I'm pretty good.
Oh, you look great. You look great.
Thank you for that.
We've already discussed that. Can you talk about, I feel like good gracious, I have gained like 25 pounds. I can no longer look at myself at this monitor. Can we go full hat and full shade on my face?
I'll just blur you out.
Can you just make a blur or like
you look
put
beautiful.
my summer picture on from the carbs have gotten a little to me. I will be honest. Here's my like spiritually, because I know that you're a Christian, right, and your faith is really important to you. But I don't think our spiritual journey is always super easy through grief.
No, it is not.
How, would you feel comfortable telling us a little bit about that, or what?
Well, I wish I knew, honestly. I mean, I feel like I was thinking about this as I was, roaming around the house today. It's like I talk to God all day long, but I don't think I'm listening. I'm just talking at him. And I don't know what is going on exactly with me, but I feel like I'm not going to say I'm mad at God, but it's hard to reconcile everything when you lose someone. And even though, sometimes I listen to people and they're so upbeat and positive after they lose someone. Well, I know where they are. And I'm thinking, well, I do too, but I'm still, got some questions. Right. And I think that what I'm learning is that it's okay to have questions. It's okay to have doubts, actually. But I'm working hard to stay spiritually connected with God, to let him in more. I think that when you lose someone, it's the hurt is so deep. And there's a part of you that, whether you say it out loud or admit it to anyone, that's thinking, geez, God, how did you let this happen?
Right. Exactly.
I mean,
right.
How about, there's mass murderers all over.
Right.
How did Jimmy? It's like Jimmy, but that happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You hear about good people die all the time. Children do, and it's a tragedy. But it's not the time to turn away from God. You actually have to, as my dear friend who led Grief Share said, you really have to lean in even more. And so what I'm doing, one of the things I'm doing is I'm trying to take more time for reflection and quiet. And so I'm trying to read the Bible because I don't remember ever having read the Bible cover to cover. Now, I've been going to church since I was literally born. I think the very day I was born, I was probably in church. I don't remember actually reading the whole Bible. So I thought, that's what I'm going to do. Well, I've told Jennifer this, the Old Testament can be a tough read.
It is a tough.
And I'll be like, maybe I should have started here.
They do recommend other starting places.
Yeah. But I'm well into it now.
Yeah.
Once you said that to me, I started to try because somebody said that some people read the Bible all the way through every single year.
Every year, yeah.
Every year. And I started and I'm like, oh, and I told Andy, I said, how are you you read the Bible through on the regular? How are you doing that? And he goes, I listen to it using the Message interpretation.
Oh, so it's more conversational.
It's very conversational. And I listened to it and I was like, there we go. And so I
need to get that link.
I was walking in the park and I'm listening as I'm walking Flynn and I'm listening to the story, of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob on the Message. And it feels like a conversation.
Oh, cool.
And it was so powerful to me. And this is just a side note. And Melissa, I want you to know, I thank you for saying that because I think a lot of times we see the complete opposite spectrums and we see someone just full into God and you got me through this. And the other end is, I'm so mad at you, God. Yeah. Our relationship is done. But to be able to step into the middle of, I have got questions and I do have a few comments for the box.
Yes.
But at the same time, I love you and I want to know you. But the power of that story of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, really the thing that hit me was when he's messing around, when Laman is messing over, I think it's Isaac and Jacob, the one who married Rachel, but he sent in Leah and messed everything up. It was real awkward. A lot of weird rules.
Really, honestly, the whole story's kind of wild.
Laman's kind of wild. Laman says to Jacob, I know that we have been blessed and our needs are met because God is with you. Laman knew that God was with Jacob and not with him. And I feel like sometimes we feel like God's just kind of out there for anybody to grasp. He's just always present. But I wish sometimes we could physically see the power of God being with his people. Yeah. Because they're related. And Laman's like, God is really with you. And I can, and we are benefiting because of God's with you. And it just has made me really, really think about the fact that we have God with us every day. He's with us. And some people don't have that. They don't have the gift of God in their lives. And I don't know how, I don't know how I would make it.
Well, and it's even though I'm on a roller coaster ride, I do feel God with me every minute of every day, which is why I pretty much just talk like a loony while walking down the street, because I'm literally talking to God and sharing my doubts, my worries, and but it is hard, but Jimmy he handled himself with such grace during the whole short time that he was ill before he passed. And that really helps me sometimes because I realize he was not afraid. And I have to hold on to some of those things, like him faced with the horrificness of what he was going through. He still believed in the goodness of God. He still believed that everything was going to be okay. And so, I get up every day, rejoice in the Lord always. And but some days, as with everybody, anyone that says everything is great,
Right.
I have no issues, I have no questions, everything is fantastic, I'm gonna call them on that.
Right.
I'm gonna.
It's like, you just want to get out of this conversation.
Well, I like what you said about listening rather than just talking, because I think we're all guilty of that, of like talking at God and then not pausing. It's interesting at this AA meeting I went to. Apparently on Fridays, they meditate for the first 15 minutes. Literally 60 people sitting in a room. They turn off the lights, no music, nothing. And they just say, be quiet for 15 minutes. And some people have headphones and they listen to things, whatever. But I was worried. I was like, I can't imagine, like, I'm going to hear every cough, every sniffle, every whatever. But the power of everyone just pausing and listening to, and not all of them believe in God. It wasn't a Christian group, but AA is based on Christian principles. They were listening. They were listening to if they believed in God, what God was saying. I believe that God can speak to people even if they're not Christian in some ways. And so but the pause of 15 minutes was so powerful that this group of people just valued it so much that in an hour-long meeting, 15 minutes of it was silence. That was profound to me. And it relates to this idea of like, you can't always be talking to God about your problems. Like there's got to be a pause. There's got to be a moment where you're reflective and listening. And it's just interesting to see that played out in these different organizations that are helping people manage these difficult situations. Even they will tell you, you got to pause. You got to be quiet.
How many
you
of these meetings did you attend? Like, are you a regular member? Is this
honestly? I wanted to go back. I wanted to go back. I'm not kidding. It was a really profound experience.
I think it's cool that you went. I mean, I would have found a Barnes & Noble, but I think it's cool that you went. But I'm like, hey, there's a Barnes & Noble around the corner. But I think what an incredible supportive thing. But man, this has been a great visit. I love that you've been so open with us about this journey. And Andy's like, please quit saying journey on that show. Andy listens to all the show.
Life is a journey.
Life is a journey or a highway, something like that. But thank you. I think you've said so many wise, meaningful things today. And I'm just so glad we got to spend this time with you, Melissa.
Thank you for letting me speak from my heart.
Speak from your heart.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is the time in the show where we have a get to know you question.
Do you have one?
Do you have one?
I do have one.
Let's use Justin's.
Okay.
And
this is helpful because y'all are both educators.
Okay.
I would like to know if there's something a teacher said to you that you have never forgotten, that like sticks with you somehow. And it can be poignant or not. Like for me, here's my example. So I had a teacher in 7th grade. He was our science teacher. I don't even remember his name. I think it was like Mr. Quinn or something. But he always sat on a stool to teach instead of like a chair. His desk didn't have a chair. It was a stool. And he had such perfect posture. I mean, I know we're all like, well, they're that.
Say posture.
But like, because I think about, you be slouchy, you think about your posture. So when I start slouching, I think of this guy because we asked him, I was like, how do you have perfect posture? And he goes, oh, I just choose to have posture.
Well, there you go.
It was such a blunt, profound, simple explanation for how you have posture.
I just choose to have posture.
He's like, I just choose to have good posture. And he's like, I just choose to sit up straight. And so every time I'm slouching and it crosses my mind, I think of this man who I don't even know if he's alive anymore.
Man, to have one comment, I mean,
I'm not saying it has to be that specific.
In the 80s, it was a lot of.
But maybe something they taught you. Something
I don't know. Can you go to the restroom? When you'd say, can I go to the restroom? I don't know. Can you?
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of other. I do have an inspirational teacher moment when I was I joined the swim team in high school as a freshman. And I was not particularly fast. I don't know if you can imagine this, but I was benched off of the swim team pretty quickly. And we had this big meet coming up against this high school, and there were rivalries and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, there were like Olympic swimmers on our team. They were part of this big swim cohort in the area. These people were like fit. They were going at 6 a.m. They were trying out for the Olympics. I don't know why I'm on this team. I did not put 2 and 2 together and realize this is not your team. So he said, have you ever jumped off the diving board? And I said, sure, I love the diving board. He goes, let's try you out on the diving team. So I go to the diving part of the day, and I learned like 4 dives: the front dive, the back dive, the inward dive, the front flip, maybe one more dive. And we have our first meet. And so my dives were not beautiful. They were not perfect. So every swimmer, like there's like tons and tons and tons of ways that they get points. It's like in the hundreds of points. And I felt ridiculous on this team. And I felt stupid with my little dives because they're doing like jackknives and twists and turns, double flips. And at the end of that entire thing, we beat them by 1 point. And he comes to me and I said, I did almost nothing. I earned 1 point for this team. He goes, but we won by 1 point.
Oh, wow.
And that power of that, what he spoke into me, like has stayed with me forever. But we won by 1 point and we had to have you on the team. And it's still like,
that is a good
it really
story.
means a lot to me still.
Yeah.
He's a great, great guy. But yeah, I didn't come back the next year because, you know,
You'd already won.
I was already a
You're already
champion.
the star.
I had already peaked in my freshman year. I went on to play soccer. But anyway, Melissa, do you?
You know, I'm sitting over here thinking, I can't think of one.
Well, let me ask you this.
One thing a teacher ever said to me.
Hey, and don't feel awkward because you were a principal and school
A
scout.
lot of pressure
Like,
here.
you gave
In
your
a
life
school
to
for
education and you
25
can't remember
years.
anything
Don't feel
about.
weird about that. But was there a teacher that did something, or like there was a practice that you always thought was kind of cool with, even as a principal, counselor?
Did you have a
assistant
favorite teacher?
principal?
Do you remember any of your teachers?
Oh, I remember one.
How many times did she ask me?
Honestly, I was blessed to be at Mark Twain for so many years, and because there were so many good teachers. And so I have more overall impressions.
Mm-hmm.
I felt always motivated and humbled, actually, by just how great the teachers were, because I thought, well, they know far more than I do. And I could never teach that lesson. This gal here, so this was always fun for me. You know, I always like people that can adjust just like that, because things are not supposed to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Although it seems like it right now in education, it's supposed to be perfect, but things are not perfect. But I'd go into a class like Jennifer, and it shouldn't cause stress, but boy, and she would, okay.
Let's see, the principal's here. She's in the room.
But she would gather the kids so quickly, and they would immediately, once they saw that something was going to happen with her, they could have cared less if I was in there. But they just all were right on focused on what she said and how she engaged them. You're reading a book, you know, in your very eloquent way that you read.
Animated, whatever.
all that. But so I have just a lot of general impressions. Teachers, the only comment I remember from a teacher was basically when I was in, I believe, second grade. No, it was first grade, Miss Harris, that I couldn't read. Well,
jokes.
I
on
challenged
her.
that. And it's funny because it stuck with me. She can't read, but I could read, but I was not blossoming quite yet. And so, but that didn't put me down.
Right.
So
that's good.
I had a teacher once that when I graduated high school, I was going to school to be a theater teacher. That was what I wanted to do. And then God changed my direction. But she was filling out, she did a reference form for me or something. And she goes, wait, you're going to be a theater teacher? And there's a teacher telling me that. She's like, I was like, yeah. She's like, you don't want to be like a doctor or a lawyer or something?
You don't want to do something that...
She was just so like, what? She was like, this is from a teacher. Like, I was like, I was so impacted by all my great teachers. I want to be a teacher. And she was like, what?
Do not do this.
So it worked out in the end, but it was just a funny comment from a teacher.
Congratulations, teachers. You've made it through another year.
Yes.
Yesterday was the Yesterday was the last day. The last day of school was always such a sweet day. Saying goodbye, getting your classroom cleaned up. They would give you a list, like it was like 3-page long checkout
and you
list.
put all the kids to work. That's their job.
That form was a lot. It's like unplug this, put this up, put your technology here, check off with the technologist, put your this form here, check off with the blah blah blah. that form was
Overwhelming.
a little overwhelming. But as you're longer as a teacher, you know to go earlier, start checking out things.
You know what's coming.
You know what's coming. You know they're going to need the cords put in a certain way, and you start doing that. The form that always killed me, and this is no time to bring it up, I'm just going to be real honest. Boy. The form that always killed me was this random form about all the chemicals we had in our classroom. And it was like 2 pages of chemicals.
Hazardous materials.
Hazardous material form. I've never heard of 90% of this list. It is like, axamidacillosazine or, hydrofluorozidamone. And it's just like, what?
I don't know if they still do that.
And in the middle of it is like Elmer's glue. And you have to find the glue.
Oh, so you're checking off things that you have.
If you happen to have some thiamalide oxide and tenonate, blue, and you're just like, I don't know, but you have to turn in the form. They're like, we still don't have your hazardous materials form. And I'm like,
that's a big deal. Yeah.
Melissa's familiar with that.
Well, and I'm sure it's one form for the entire district. So yeah, high school physics or chemistry class.
Every single teacher.
I know, but I'm sure it's the same thing throughout every age group.
It's the same form. So
the chemistry guys check.
Why
and then elementary grades.
The plant manager's filling one out. Clearly he knows what that is.
Okay. The teachers who've been there for 25 years, they've already filled this out, made 18 copies. They pull it out and they're like, here it is.
Oh, it's because it's the same every year.
I still have the same glue. We're good. But I was like, this form. And I've taught for 10 years. 9 years in. What's this form?
Kept surprising you.
What is this form? And they're like, you fill this out every year. But anyway.
You were at Twain for 10 years?
I was at Twain for 6 years.
Okay.
And I was at this other elementary school at IHSC for 3 years, and I believe I was in Santa Fe ISD for 3.
And that was high school, right?
6.
You taught high school in Santa Fe.
That's 12 years? Wait. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I was at that it was called Shadowbriar Elementary.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
1 year. That was just 1 year. And then I got hired on a Mark Twain because Olivia was starting kindergarten.
Okay.
And that was such an incredible prayer answered of the Lord. It was just
a good school and... Yeah.
Yes. And it just fit. And that principal who hired me left the next day. He literally turned in his resignation the next day. And Melissa was promoted. And she's still today. Now, who hired you? How did this happen? She's like, I missed 1 day of work that entire year. Anyway, well, Melissa, thank you.
Thank you
for being here. And it's exciting to be with you guys again. We've missed being with you. Justin.
Yeah, if you would like to follow us, we still are making episodes. If you would send us suggestions, that'd be great. If you could say, I know somebody that you could talk to.
I do have a couple people lined up.
Because we have done 70 episodes or something. Yeah. And that's the extent of people that me and Jennifer know. We don't know anybody else. We've maxed out all of our relationships.
It's funny that when Kathleen Yarborough's mom said that she's our biggest fan, which I love.
I love that.
She goes, I get up in the morning just to look and see if you have another episode.
Oh, no.
6 months later, here it is.
She's going to be thrilled.
Oh, no.
I'm like, I'm so sorry. But lovely.
Anyway, send us some people. We'd love to talk to them. Share this if you liked it. Also, we have 170 episodes. You haven't heard them all. Go back and listen to some old ones.
Right.
There's no way you've heard all of these.
We need to rank them.
Yeah.
All right.
And then, you can email me at podcast@cityrise.org if you have suggestions. And that's it.
And let me add, we do have Grief Share here on our campus. So you can find that on our website.
Grief Share,
along with Anointment to get whatever is in my eye out. Grief Share, I think is the name of it. We have the Beeson, Lori Beeson.
Yep.
Is leading that here. She's been on our show. Wonderful.
But if you go to griefshare.org, it shows you all the ones in your area. So we're just like a chapter.
Right.
You can find it anywhere.
It's an excellent point. All right. Thanks so much. We hope you've had an almost amazing time on the Almost Amazing podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Almost Amazing podcast from the CityRise Network based in Houston, Texas. CityRise is a partnership of church campuses, nonprofits, and missionaries devoted to lifting our city and the world by generously giving the gospel of Jesus Christ. For more information or to find a church campus close to you in the Houston area, visit cityrise.org.